Hi, it's Mrs. LP here. Today we are learning to design a shape that can tessellate. So what is tessellation? A tessellation is a regular pattern made up of 2D shapes. The shapes are repeated and joined together without any gaps or overlaps, and these shapes don't all need to be the same, but the pattern should repeat. So here's a couple of examples of tessellation over here. Now we're going to be learning about three main types of tessellation. There are other smaller categories and more specific categories, but these are the three types that are kind of the most well-known ones. So we're going to learn about regular tessellations, semi-regular tessellations, and irregular tessellations. To learn about tessellations, one of the words that you need to know about is a polygon. So what is a polygon? A polygon is a 2D shape with only straight lines that encloses an area, and the lines do not cross each other. So for example, these are polygons. They have only straight lines and they enclose the entire area, and none of the lines cross each other. So that's why these are all polygons. And these are not polygons because they either have lines that are in the middle of each other, or they cross each other, or there's a line that may stick out, or it's not fully closed, or one of the lines is curved. And in these cases, they are not polygons. So just to reiterate, it needs to have only straight lines. They need to enclose an area, and the lines do not cross each other. Okay, so what is a regular polygon? A regular polygon is a polygon where all the lines and all the angles are equal. So here are some examples of regular polygons. Okay, so now that you know what polygons and regular polygons are, we can learn about the three types of tessellations. First of all, regular tessellations. Regular tessellations are made up of only one type of regular polygon, and it's repeated over and over. There are actually only three possible ones. In a tessellation, in order to not have gaps, if you find a point, so where the lines intersect, all the angles around it must equal 360. And because of that, you can only do that with these types of regular polygons. All the other polygons, all the other regular polygons, when you put them together, they don't fit together and there are gaps because the angles around the point would not add to 360. So these are the only three possible regular tessellations. And these are the possible semi-regular tessellations. A semi-regular tessellation is made up with only regular polygons or circles, but there's more than one type of shape in the pattern. So as you can see with the regular tessellations, it's just one type of shape. With semi-regular, you have two or more shapes, but they still all need to be regular polygons. Now, there are only 8 of these that have been found. So no one has ever been able to find another semi-regular tessellation that uses only regular polygons. And in fact, a lot of mathematicians have devoted a lot of energy to trying to find a 9th one. And if you did ever find a 9th one, you would become very famous for that. So if you have some spare time, that could be something that you attempt. Okay. Irregular tessellations. So irregular tessellations are any kind of shape repeated in a pattern that don't have gaps or overlaps. So here are some examples here. We know they're irregular because these lines and angles are not equal. You can even get a bit more creative and use more interesting shapes. And you can use lines that are curved as well. You can even take inspiration from Escher, who is a well-known artist, usually known for art that is visually has visual tricks. But this is another thing that he is famous for, where he has made some really interesting tessellations using animals or other simple shapes. Cool. So now that you know what the 3 different types of tessellations are, you can have a think about what you want to use in your pod design. You may want to use a regular tessellation, but that can be a little bit boring, especially if you're just choosing to use squares. You may want to think about using semi-regular tessellations, where the bigger shapes can be used for things like sleeping pods, kitchen pods, and then the smaller shapes could be used for storage or bathrooms and things like that. Or you might want to go really crazy and use irregular tessellations. This would be a great way to extend yourself a little bit. Try and come up with a shape that is kind of unexpected but still tessellates well. One thing I do want to point out though, that we still want a pod that uses space really efficiently. So you may not want to have a tessellated shape that has lots of little sticky outy bits, because it would be really hard to use that space efficiently once you're designing the things to go inside them. But that's up to you. If you can find a way to have a really interesting shape, but the space is being used efficiently still, then that would be a great experiment to do. Cool. So hopefully after that lesson, you have an idea of the different types of tessellations and be able to have a think about what you're going to use in your pod design.